Okay, so we're talking about finding calm within a chaotic world. So you just look at this person, to feel like that, you get kind of get the drift of what she's feeling there, feeling calm in a chaotic world. And then tonight, addressing anxiousness, anxiety. So, a big part of finding calm is addressing anxiousness and anxiety and staying well as we age. So, looking for an overview here, anxiousness and anxiety overview. Physical, environmental, and psychological stresses can cause anxiety. So physical things, environmental things, possible toxins, and then psychological stresses, things that we might be pushed with work or relationships. Anxiety is a normal response. We kind of know that living in today's, it's a normal response, but it isn't always a bad thing. But when it gets to be uncontrollable or excessive to the point where it affects quality of life, this may be indicative of an anxiety disorder. Examples of anxiety disorders include panic attacks, obsessive compulsive disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, generalized anxiety disorder. GAD, generalized anxiety disorder, is a condition where you worry constantly about everyday issues and situations. And around, a good number of people, around 301 million people globally have an anxiety disorder. If you just say the world is at a certain level, why does it have to happen? So these are the things we want to consider to see helping prevent that or lessening that at least. Mistaken identity, overwhelming fear. So factors associated with anxious anxiety, if you can mute your lines if you can. Going so terribly wrong. Let's see. Judith, is that your line? Is that your line? Your mic? You want to mute your mic there?
But mine is.
That's okay. There you go. Okay, factors associated with anxiousness, anxiety. So for one, a lack of calming neurotransmitter influences. So there's something called GABA. You may have heard of that, of a neurotransmitter. So when we have a lack of, say, the synthesis or the activity of something like GABA as one neurotransmitter, it can cause, feelings of anxiousness or anxiety. Elevated amygdala activity. This is where I was talking about the baseline. Like if we can raise our baseline threshold when stress comes along, and part of that relates to actually helping the part of our brain called the amygdala begin to de-imprint, you can say, old patterns, and actually allow for a new grooving of patterns that have a higher threshold that would lessen being triggered by certain things that may have irritated or caused anxiousness in the past. Excessive adrenal activity. So things like you've heard of dopamine, norepinephrine, epinephrine, adrenal glands, if they're overactive, say when we're squeezed to do something, or if we get nervous driving or whatever, our adrenals might be kicking out more hormones there, which can cause an excessive feeling of, anxiousness or anxiety. Overactive immune response from elevated cytokine activity. Now, we went through COVID the past year, a while ago, 2020. We're moving, pretty much out of that there. But when our immune system's overactive, it can cause a feeling of anxiousness or anxiety. And then last, hypoglycemia. If our blood sugar goes low, there's a strong tendency we're going to feel nervous there. So if we can help recondition these areas of our system, we can again help raise our overall threshold. Okay, so diagnostic markers and clinical indicators of anxiety. So again, neurotransmitter, checking to see how your GABA levels are. Checking your adrenals for one, your cortisol levels. Heart rate variability. Now, heart rate variability, again, is a tool that measures, you can say, beat-to-beat heart changes, beat-to-beat heartbeats there. And they found that there's a direct correlation there with the with our amygdala. So we can actually raise our heart rate variability in a healthy way. It actually can, again, help raise our or lessen our ability, our amygdala's, you can say, tripping, when tripping over in terms of causing some kind of anxiety response. A CBC blood test, again, just a simple CBC blood test. There's other markers too for cytokines, but just for that alone, you can check what's called neutrophils or lymphocytes, which you can get an idea if your immune system is being overstimulated. And then with blood, you want to look at your blood sugar levels too to check for hypoglycemia. Heavy metal testing, they found like the heavy metals of cadmium, mercury, lead have been known to actually cause symptoms like anxiety or anxiousness or relate to them. Okay, your thyroid, a comprehensive thyroid panel. Now, your thyroid has a lot to do with your emotions there. And checking your thyroid for possible autoimmune conditions or just in terms of healthy functioning can relate to what we're considering tonight. Genomic spotlight of the COMP gene. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but there's a gene called the COMP gene. And this gene, if you have certain what's called alleles that make up that gene for you in particular, there's some alleles that relate to actually being a worrier, and there's some variants there for the COMP gene that relate to actually having a warrior type nature. So just checking your gene alone, you can actually see if there's a genetic tendency for your system to tend towards more of a worrier or more towards, you can say, a warrior there. And then addressing it accordingly. And then validated surveys there. There's this state trait anxiety inventory scale that can check levels and intensity there to get some readings in that respect. Okay. Addressing anxiousness, anxiety. So looking at nutrient deficiencies, sleep habits, interpersonal relationships, psychological stressors, and then looking at a comprehensive care model that addresses underlying causes can be more effective than only a drug approach. So again, medications may be helpful for individuals, but you just don't want to rely on only taking the medication there. You want to look to see what else can you do, like checking your nutrients, sleeping, like Jay, you were saying, just sleeping, getting a good rest there, interpersonal relationships, psychological stresses. So looking to see a holistic perspective. These are things you may very sense for yourself, but these are things you can consider with your friends or family or people that you may know that are maybe taking medications and encouraging them for a more holistic perspective. So part of that relates to diet here, and they found that magnesium plays a good part with helping with feelings of anxiousness or anxiety. So sources like kale, spinach, Swiss chard, pumpkin seeds, almonds, cashews, black beans, even dark chocolate or supplementation for magnesium. Zinc plays a part with this here. So sources include fish, salmon, red meat, chicken, eggs, nuts, avocado, blueberries. Recommend an amino acid rich diet, which emphasizes foods high in tyrosine and tryptophan, such as turkey, beef, chicken, salmon there. So, as Gloria was mentioning about protein intake, so we want to keep a good protein intake, which can help with our blood sugar. Diet and nutritional considerations continued. Okay, recommend consumption of probiotic-rich foods. Sauerkraut, kefir, kimchi, kombucha, pickled vegetables. So this relates to our microbiome, and they find that the gut-brain relationship there has a good part to see in enhancing how we think. So fermented foods has been associated with reduced anxiety scores. Anxiety is thought to be correlated with lower total antioxidant state. And so encouraging intake of antioxidant-rich foods and spices like turmeric, ginger, garlic, berries, dark leafy greens, cruciferous vegetables. Yeah. So just taking a look at that for a moment, you can just pause for a second. So, our microbiome plays a part, probiotic-rich foods, antioxidant-rich foods. Now, for some people, just a little caveat, for some people, if they do a lot of uh, probiotic-rich foods, that can actually may make their digestion worse. So you have to actually see and temper that and see what works for yourself, for you. But again, it's been known that fermented foods do help. Okay, supplement support. Now, these supplements are from this company Designs for Health, and they have products that go into things that support with anxiousness and anxiety here. And but there's other things too, but for tonight, I just want to review some of these. So there's a product called NeuroCalm, and NeuroCalm promotes GABA and serotonin activity there, which may help support healthy moods, cravings, feelings of calm, satiety, and satisfaction. Also includes calming influences of L-theanine and taurine. Now, one thing with L-theanine, we find you can just take L-theanine by itself, and actually we keep a bottle on hand for ourselves here that when we feel a little spun up, we'll take a dose of L-theanine liquid there, and we find it actually helps to, you can say, down regulate the spin that happens when we get stressed with something. Cannab omega, now this is interesting. It's a combination of omega 3s and you can say CBD. They work synergistically to support neurological health, including healthy mood and cognition. So you've probably heard about CBDs. CBD, this is CBD based from hemp oil, and then but they mix it with omega 3s, and omega 3s have a lot to do with brain health, they found. Pharma GABA is a naturally sourced bioidentical GABA, and it's like eating kimchi. I think Young Dookie, you appreciate that. You know, if you're not eating enough kimchi, there's a product that actually can give you some similar support that kimchi actually does for your mental health. Magnesium glycinate powder helps in regulating neurotransmitters such as serotonin and GABA, which contribute to mood stability and relaxation. So magnesium, some of you probably already know, you may take magnesium before you go to sleep to help relax your system. And then consider foundational lab assessments for your specific needs. So these are some thoughts about products on hand as needed to consider, but really looking at foundational lab assessments to see what causes you may have. Do you have a high cortisol rate? Or is your blood sugar low? So it's something to see a little bit more specifically individually. Herbs and supplements can interact with medications. So again, if you are taking medications, it's something to be alert with, and there's resources that can help with that. So there's a resource, refer to reliable evidence-based resources such as the Natural Medicine Database, now known as NatMed Pro. So if you bring that up, if you Google that, and you put in the medications you might be taking and what supplements you might be taking, it will give you some thoughts there in terms of are they a good fit with each other or if there's some contraindication. Or there's a book called The Herb, Nutrient, and Drug Interactions, Clinical Implications and Therapeutic Strategies by Stargrove, Treasure, McKee there, and that's another great book source. Okay. So professional assistance, there's folks that can help. Now, for me, for one, if you're interested, we can create a plan to optimize your health and well-being. And if you're so interested, you can schedule a consultation with me to get started with that. Thank you. But let's look at a little bit more in terms of conscious factors. So lifestyle intervention practices. Adopt conscious calming practices. Something called unified mindfulness and heart math. Now, for those of you who've been in touch with me, you've heard of heart math through me. And heart math, again, is a process that helps bring you to a conscious alignment of balancing out your nervous system, where you feel a sense of what's called coherence, where you feel a sense of well-being physically, mentally, and emotionally. And it relates to actually feeling a sensation through your breathing through your heart. And we'll practice that a little bit in a moment. But then there's something called unified mindfulness. For some of us, you may have heard the term mindfulness, but where mindfulness actually sprang from was from this actually called unified mindfulness. This is where we have a sensing using our senses to bring us into the present moment. And the idea and actually the fact is for people who do this work, experiencing the present moment in a greater sense actually gives you a sense of, okay, here I am. I'm fine. There's a sense of well-being in the present moment. So unified mindfulness helps to do that. Okay. Do regular exercise to support balanced moods and stress responses. So there's nothing like exercise. Some of us may exercise first thing in the morning. I particularly do every morning myself, and I find it really helps set the tone for the day. And there's various forms. It's just a matter of finding the exercise that works for you. And one thing I find that does work is doing some light squats with the ball behind my back. And if you strengthen your thigh muscles, actually, it can help really actually bring a sense of stability to your mind and to your heart. Engage with calming therapies such as aromatherapy. I actually like frankincense, music therapy, and ways to optimize rest. And for those of you who have been with me for a bit, Brain Tap I recommend. Brain Tap is a system, is an app you use to actually put good sensory input into your nervous system. And for some people, it's been helpful for them before they go to sleep. For some people, it helps them to wake up. For some people, like myself, I use it in the afternoon when I get tired to help just for a quick, refreshing 15-minute break. Journal successes, challenges, learnings, life intentions. So journaling, for some of us, we may journal. I find it very helpful. And actually writing down, like when you write something down, say of your life intentions, there's a good chance it creates, you can say it creates an energy for that thing to happen. So every morning or every evening, I'll write 3 things down I want to accomplish the next day, and I'll review that in the morning. And sure enough, those 9 times out of 10, I complete those things for the day. Cultivate baseline flow state. Okay, we talked a little bit about this before with Davina there, a flow state, rest activity rhythm. So let me illustrate that a little bit more picture-wise. So again, observing, calibrating, experiencing our conscious flow state. So it's a matter of looking to see our activity and our rest, finding the balance between activity and rest, finding the lines, the parameters between rest and activity in our lives. And this relates to a flow state presence. And again, if we can be present in the moment, again, we're going to have things more in perspective. But when we get overamped, when we're trying to squeeze too much in the day or jamming things in to get things done, I know I've had a tendency for that. We feel overamped. And we need to recognize when that happens. Oh, I don't know what that happened. We want to see how we can temper down here. Now, I'm going to take us through an exercise to help in that respect in a moment. Okay. But then it's almost like tuning a guitar string. When we feel overamped, recognizing that, pausing, stopping, possibly breathing, uprighting ourselves, and retuning back to the parameters of the flow state. And then at times we might feel underamped. Underamped is like we might be watching too much TV, and we feel like, we feel like something's lagging. And when that happens, then we look to see how can we pick things up. Maybe turn the TV off, read something that may be inspiring to you, or look to call someone, but coming back into that flow state presence. But it all relates to what's going on in our heart. And we need to find the compass in our heart. And finding a compass in our heart, then we can navigate again, recognize when we're overamped, underamped, to stay in that flow state. And as we do that individually, then you can say we play music with others. We integrate. We find, you can say, a tonal tone together, where we're expanding, you say, a tone of life together. We're sharing in that. So let's look in terms of, okay, how do we find the compass in our heart? And this relates to a heart math exercise. So there's something called quick coherence technique, finding the compass in our heart. Heart-focused breathing. So with Heart Math, the Heart Math Institute, who've created Heart Math, a system of Heart Math, they found that if you just focus on your heart and look to breathe through your heart, it actually helps to take, you can say, the the accelerated thoughts you may have headwise and kind of decelerate those to help actually bring you to be more in the present moment. It shifts your attention away from mental chatter. And then consider, there's a second part to this coherence work. I'm going to practice this in a moment. Consider what makes you smile. What do you love for sure? So feel the feelings. So consider just even for a moment now, consider what makes you smile. What do you love for sure? Feel the feeling. This is what we love for sure. Our cat, Katniss. And yeah, we can feel the love there for her. And it's a matter of feeling the feeling and not so much thinking about what makes you smile, but actually feel the feeling of what you love. So let's practice here. Quick coherence, quick steps. Heart focused breathing, slow in and slower out. And then activating a positive or renewing feeling. Feel what makes you smile. Heart focused breathe, the positive feeling, emotion. So let's practice this for a moment. And we'll upright ourselves again. We start off like this to begin with. And you can put your hand over your heart, provided you feel okay with that. For some people, that might make them anxious to put their hand over their heart. If so, you can just leave your arms to your sides. But if you're comfortable with that, you can put your left hand. I recommend your left hand, your receiving hand, over your heart, uprighting yourself. And then you may want to close your eyes and breathing in slow and out slower. Again, as you breathe out slower, it activates your calming parasympathetic system. Breathing in slow and out slower. Imagine breathing through your heart, your nose and your heart. Breathing in slow and out slower. And now consider something that makes you smile. Could be your pet, or maybe a conversation you may have had with someone at some point, at some time. You know, whatever you feel, whatever you may have to move your consciousness around till you feel that thing. Feel the thing that makes you smile. Smile with joy and smile with peace. And feel the feeling. And breathe that feeling in through your heart and out through your heart. Okay, one more time. Breathing in and breathing out. Okay, if you relax a little bit, let's see here. I have some more along those lines. So bringing it all together. So we considered diagnostic markers, nutritional markers there, and ideally coming to a conscious awareness of presence. And heart math is one way of doing that. There's other ways too you may have found. I find heart math to be very helpful. Okay, so bringing it all together. Okay, let's move on. I think we just shared a bit with that. And let's personally consider. So have a piece of paper, take out a piece of paper and something to write with. And we learn by reflecting on our experience. So this is how we learn, which is called the learning loop, when we reflect on our experiences. So what insight has been most useful to you?